Sidney Powell, Madonna, ironically, for sharing the same information, and Breitbart, of course, for sharing this same medical information. Whenever I read about this, the wording always seems to be false information. False information. My question is, how do they know definitively it is false?
Well, it's a complete misdirection on their part. All of these departments in Silicon Valley that were set up to tackle so-called fake news or so-called misinformation or so-called election integrity or election interference, they were all set up right after Donald Trump won the election. They didn't exist before the 2016 election. So don't you think it's a massive coincidence that all of these departments it all emerged after Trump won the election? It's because there was this giant panic inside Silicon Valley after that election result. We saw it in video form when we got our hands on that 1 hour recording of Google executives a few days after the 2016 election in complete panic at the result. My Facebook sources tell me that a similar story on Facebook, total dismay that Trump won. And actually, my Facebook source says that when these fake news department, these election integrity departments were set up, the most anti-Trump people at the company joined those departments. So from the beginning, this tightening of control over the flow of information, this determination on the part of Silicon Valley to control what we see, what we can share, what publishers get ahead, what politicians get ahead on these platforms, that all kicked off really after the 2016 election in response to it, I think.
Alan, we know that CNN also shared an article earlier this month that seemed to validate also a lot of the claims about hydroxychloroquine. Why would CNN not share the same fate as conservative figures and outlets?
Well, you know, journalists are kind of a protected class now in Silicon Valley, and you can see why. CNN's been encouraging the advertiser boycott against Facebook because Facebook allegedly isn't doing enough to censor the right. Believe it or not, Democrats in the mainstream media think Silicon Valley companies should be doing even more censorship than they're currently doing, and the press has been egging on that boycott against Facebook by its advertisers. So Silicon is very afraid of the mainstream press. They did a similar thing against YouTube back in 2017. They called it the adpocalypse. Ceaseless negative coverage in mainstream papers led to a massive advertiser boycott of that platform. And the result of all this is that Silicon Valley companies treat journalists, mainstream journalists anyway,